In the UK, the legislative framework for sanctioning an individual has two stages. The first stage is the use of powers delegated to ministers in Acts of Parliament, often the Sanctions and Anti-Money Laundering Act of 2018, to make regulations that specify the sanctions that can be imposed against individuals. The role of Parliament depends on the purpose of these sanctions regulations. If regulations are made to comply with UN obligations, then they're subject to the made negative scrutiny procedure. That is, they do not require active parliamentary approval, but can be rejected by Parliament. Ministers can also make regulations for discretionary purposes. These are purposes that are listed in the 2018 Sanctions Act, such as promoting the resolution of armed conflicts. And generally, regulations that are made for discretionary purposes are subject to the made affirmative scrutiny procedure. That is, they require retrospective parliamentary approval if they are to remain law, and this is usually within 28 days. The second stage is the use of a designation power contained in the regulations to name and subject a person to sanctions measures that are specified in those regulations, such as asset freezes. This is done on a separate administrative list, and this does not involve Parliament. The Economic Crime Transparency and Enforcement Act of 2022 has amended the requirements in the 2018 Sanctions Act that a minister must meet before exercising a designation power under sanctions regulations. Normally, a minister must have reasonable grounds to designate someone. The 2022 Act also adds an urgent designation procedure, where a minister can designate a person before establishing reasonable grounds, provided that relevant sanctions apply to that person under the law of certain international organizations and countries, such as the EU and the US. The minister must also consider that the urgent designation is in the public interest. An urgent designation ceases to have effect after 8 weeks and can be extended once for a further 8 weeks.